We'll do 2 this time. How's that? Good day. Happy Tuesday. What is up, Seekers? Aaron with another conscious thought for you this week. Trying to stay on the topic of being conscious and spiritual in regards to relationships. Like I said, my history with this isn't multifaceted in the terms of numerous partners. So what I'm getting and sharing is really about keeping the one you've got when it's the one you want. While also keeping in mind that, in theory, when you want something, it's in a sense of lack, so you don't have it. And so you start to chase something. And if you're chasing something, that something has to be running from you, right? Well, you don't want your loved one to run from you. So, keeping that in mind, perhaps it's better to just be the best you, right? Because that means if they're the right one for you, and I'm very much a firm believer in pre-incarnate decisions that guide and maybe somewhat influence what happens in your life this cycle, this lifetime. Because most, if not all of us, have been here before. And we've had some very interesting revelations about this life for us with communications from not only our own higher selves, but the higher selves of a very close family to us. My younger sister, if you saw the social media post, recently had a little girl. And I'm not a huge fan of kids. I never really have been. I wanted them for a while, but I feel like that was an ego-driven desire, because the main reason I wanted to was to continue the family name. It wasn't me being like, oh man, I need to have kids. I would love to have, it was, I need to have kids. It wasn't, I want to have kids. It wasn't, I want to nurture a being into this world. It wasn't anything like that. And I mean, it took me many years even into my relationship with my wife, Des, or even into our marriage, before I came to the conclusion that, like, I don't want kids. I thought I wanted kids to keep the family name going, but I thought that was something I needed to do as the only male child, but it doesn't fit my life, and it doesn't fit Dez's life, and we've had some insight into past lives, which makes sense as to why we wouldn't. So this isn't exactly what I intended on talking about today, but since that's what piqued out of this crazy head of mine, I'll go ahead and continue on that. Let's talk about kids, right? Children are important, in the general viewpoint and aspect of things like it. It's important for people to have kids. But what I personally think is more important is it's more important for the right people to have children at the right time. Which is really difficult to determine, right? There are children that grow up to highly influence and change the world that come from a place where a lot of people generally be like, they shouldn't have had kids. But they did, and then that child prospered into something phenomenal. So if you're in a relationship and it is a committed relationship, and one of you wants children and the other one doesn't, that's a conversation that needs to be had. I mean, period. That needs to happen. There needs to be a common ground reached. And if it's someone that, if both of you are confident spiritually that your best path is to stay together, then that common ground should be reached. Maybe there is an ego driven or, like a shadow self driven reason for either side, either to have kids like myself or to not have kids. Because that could be some past life experience, not past lives experiences, but experiences in your past life that lead you to that. Perhaps you had a rough childhood. You don't want to possibly have that happen to your own kids. Or, other side of the same coin, you had a rough childhood, so you want to give another entity the possibility to have a better childhood. Karmic balance is almost seemingly either way at that point. Or perhaps it's a situation like me, where the person that wants to have kids has some sort of karma or ego-driven reason to want to, but in actuality, to their core, they don't want to have kids. There's an external reason for it. So have the conversation. Dig deep within yourselves and maybe consider that. Let's say you are in a relationship where you have children from past relationships involved. So, stepkids, if you're married and committed like that. Well, then it's important to understand that the person you're with may want the previous partner involved, may not, may have to, may not. And there needs to be, the common ground. You need to reach this median for success to be there. Because they may be, for some reason, forced by the court of law to keep that previous partner in their lives because of the children. You may or may not be okay with that. But the long and short of it is, if that's what's required, then that's something that you'll have to work on yourself. And in those situations, I personally feel it's important to step up to that missing role in that child's life. I believe through all of my friends growing up, and just flipping through all of my friends growing up, I think I'm the only one who has their birth parents still together. 'Cause, 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 'cause And some of them even surprised me when I found out later on, like, your parents divorced, your parents separated, and now you have a stepmom or a stepdad. It just blew my mind. That wasn't the world I was raised in, and to see it all around me was mind blowing. And I think ironically, some of them were actually in a situation where the parents thought that having the kid would bring them closer together. Well, that's not really a reason to have a child, is it? You're placing your karma, your trauma, your struggles on the shoulders of a human that can't hold itself up, has no idea what the hell is going on. It literally just drinks, sleeps, and poops, and pees, and cries. How is that going to fix a relationship? It sounds crazy when you look at it bluntly for what it is, but there's so many people that think that. And yeah, sure, sometimes it works. Like, hey, we made a thing together. Let us take care of it. Let us set ourselves aside for this other person. Well, when you set yourself aside, it seems like in those situations, your trauma and your karma isn't presenting itself because you're so not focused on yourself. It's you're giving yourself up in, innumerable ways for this little human that can't do anything for itself. But then as soon as it can, everything comes right back. Right? These lessons are going to keep coming no matter what. So you got to figure them out. Children are important, but don't place your, fairly big and important life decisions on the shoulders of somebody that doesn't even know who you are other than mommy, daddy. Not really completely understanding that concept and the importance of it. And hell, some of them for years still are experiencing their previous life. So whatever trauma happened there is now affecting them. Now, let's keep in mind here that all of this is just my opinion. Take it or leave it. Totally up to you. Take it with a grain of salt. Whatever you want to do, it's cool. Swinging from the hip today. And almost every video that I'm putting out will almost always come down to, you got to figure yourself out. Not everything, but be on that path. It's important to heal wounds. Whether you're a wounded feminine, wounded masculine, I'm sure it's possible to be both. Trauma of your current life, trauma of your past lives coming up. There's trauma in my past life that led to me making the decision that I don't want to have kids this time. And come to find out, my younger sister's new baby was my daughter last cycle. And her veil is not closed yet. And boy, does her higher self, along with my sister's higher self, have a lot to say about what's going on and what has happened, and has really shed some light on a lot of things that I would have never known. And the only reason that really came up is because I've never really been a huge fan of kids, even when they're not mine. Some people say, like, I like other people's kids, but there's no way in hell I'd have my own. I love him just so long as I don't got to deal with him. It's not that. There was this crazy connection with her, and I just asked into it. And so I asked my higher self and my methods, which lately has been a lot of pendulum work, which anybody can do. We all have one, because it's us in sixth density. As there's a connection between me and Lou, somehow in a past life. And the more you practice this connection with your higher self and even other spirits, make sure, as always, they're the ones you want to talk to, right? You'll begin to get thoughts out of nowhere in the middle of it. And it's those downloads that we talked about. And those downloads can come to you, and then you just ask for confirmation. And that's where I found out she was my daughter previously. And my younger sister kept asking more and more questions. And turns out a lot of us currently active in our lives right now. In fact, most of us right now, we're active in past cycles. And it's pretty crazy. But also not super surprising when you get into stuff like the raw material, the law of one, and you go through that channeled work and realize that it's often that souls choose to reincarnate together to continue working on past karma. Because to polarize positively and graduate the densities from third to fourth, it's a balancing of karma and forgiveness of self. And that is self in the law of one term of self, which means everyone. Opening your heart chakra. Letting it express freely. It's a big deal. Fourth density is the density of love. Fourth chakra is the heart chakra. And I have work to do there, I know. I've received messaging of like, hey, this is a good one where graduation can occur, but there's work to be done. I am considering and digging through my karma right now to see what and or whom or when there's balancing and forgiveness and healing to be done. It's not that I don't appreciate this life, it's not like I want to move on because I don't want to be here anymore. It's more like I love this. The catalyst here, the experience here, the education here. Now that I can't even guarantee whether or not I have in previous cycles, but now that I am in this one, it's like, stuff's pretty rad. Right? There's a lot going on, and it's all here, designed by the Creator to push us, in a sense, one way or the other, positive or negative. And it's dude, it's just awesome. Like, I'm looking around me right now, and I see life. I look at the skateboard and I see the experience I had with Mac. I have some artwork over there that's going to be probably some set pieces once I figure that out. And I can imagine the life that went into those. You know, these chairs. You've seen Dez's KDA chair. You've seen me sit in my chair. There's experiences had in those, and I look at all these things and I just remember and visualize the life that's been had in them. And it's just amazing. Even something like the old busted down PC case that's over there that I got. Probably over 5 years ago now. It was from a friend. And it was gifted to me with PC components in it when I was just getting into building PCs. And I see him working on it and loving it, and then him passing it on to me. There are no coincidences in this experience. Everything happens for a reason. Are you ready to accept that? Because it's likely that everything that happens to us is something we've manifested. Right? Law of attraction works in every way. You attract what you project energy into. And it seems like this year that's going to pay off for us. But not going to worry about that. We're just going to keep living life, being present in the moment, and doing the best I can to be the best me that I can be, to hopefully if I can reach one person and help them with one of these videos, perfect. If you're desperate to graduate out of third and into fourth because you can't stand this hellhole of third density experience, well, that's judgment. That is a bottom 3 chakra thought, expression, whatever, that's blocked by the heart. It's not going to get you there. We got to love this blessing that has been bestowed upon us in this third density experience. That's what it's about. Do you have kids? Are you in a relationship with kids? Do you not want to have kids? Are you like me and my wife? And what's that experience been like for you? Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this. Let me know if you have a topic that you would like to have discussed on here, or if you have a story to tell. Please feel free. Leave it down below. I'll see it. Anyway, Seekers, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I think I'm going to start posting this on podcast platforms. I need to work on some imagery for that because some of them require it. Either way, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Polarize well. I love you.